Hi, this is Tish Aitken, and I'm here to discuss the week of April 20th, 2020. To begin with, the week of April 13th, which I'm still in because I'm giving everybody a heads up on what's happening, is still very volatile. The Sun in Aries squared Eris, the goddess of discord, on Monday and proceeded to square Pluto on Tuesday, which is a really intense aspect. Pluto is the planet of death and rebirth and power struggles and transformation, and that is an aspect that can bring great change and tremendous struggle, and can definitely help us transcend. But I think we have a lot to get there collectively still. But and then it squared Jupiter on Wednesday the 15th, and that brought everything to a much broader level and much more. It just expanded in every sense. And the moon has been in Aquarius recently too, and that also is very rebellious and can be, definitely also combative energy. It's brilliant and it's innovative, but it definitely rebels when things are challenging, which they are definitely now. And this is a reconsideration of our value system, everything that's happening. We began the year with that Saturn-Pluto conjunction that occurred on January 12th, 2020. And that set the year, that set the decade really, because it will never ever see this much Capricorn again in our lifetime. And for the majority of the year already, there have been a lot of planets in Capricorn. And when we began that conjunction that day, had the Sun, Mercury, Jupiter, Pluto, Saturn, all in the sign of Capricorn. And that is a very, intense combination, very much about karma, especially Saturn and Pluto meeting up on the world axis, anything of the 22 degrees of a cardinal sign. And then the other planets, Saturn and Mercury, sorry, the Sun and Mercury bringing light. The Sun brings light, and Mercury is communication, translating that story for all of us to learn in whatever area of our lives, aside from the fact that we're seeing, Saturn is rules and its restrictions, but it's also restructuring. It's from integrity and coming of value. And right now we're dealing with a global crisis, but it's also a time where I think that we have to proceed with character and integrity and figuring out how we can change and evolve with this, because the world is permanently changed. Pluto is permanent when things happen, but it's also helping us to, or we will as a collective, and with all the cardinal energy available to us, we will have to adapt and to, to find new ways to survive, and also to find creative ways to manifest with this and to connect. And Saturn is briefly in Aquarius until July 2nd, and that is really about communication, about networking, about finding ways to educate ourselves in this changed society and world, and to also continue to do business and construct our goals in a different way, in a very enlightened way, and through connecting and forming community. And there will be restrictions. Saturn is the modern ruler of Capricorn, and Saturn is the ancient ruler of Aquarius. So it's still in its rulership, but it's challenging us all to really figure out how we perhaps have lost our values in a sense, maybe. And these are not times we ever sought, or could have planned for, but we have to go with the change, and in a way of again, of character and integrity. And I think with Uranus in the sign of Taurus, which has been there since on and off since May of 2018. Taurus is a sign that is very stubborn and resists change. It's a very fixed earth sign. And so with Uranus in its fall, it's exalted in the opposite sign of Scorpio. It's in its fall in Taurus rather. But it's still that we have to evolve, we have to enlighten, we have to learn, and we have to change with Uranus and Taurus. And so that's also how we're changing our value system, which is what Taurus represents. And next week, well, the sun enters the sign of Taurus, or enters the sign of Taurus on April 21st, and April 19th, rather, sorry, on April 19th. And And then on April 21st, the sun in Taurus is going to form a square to Saturn in Aquarius. And the last time Saturn was in Aquarius was from 91 to 94, February of 91 to February of 94. So it's recently entered that sign, and this is the first square that's happened with the sun in Taurus to Saturn in Aquarius since that time frame. But also, Saturn is technically still squaring Uranus in Taurus. And so both of those being the ruler of the sign of Aquarius, but we're being restricted in how we connect, and yet it's making us be creative in how we connect. But with the sun squaring Saturn on Tuesday, that's an aspect where you can feel very depressed. You can feel very restricted. And I think that'll also go back to what's been happening this week with all of the upheaval and chaos and people feeling very angry about feeling restricted and, being on lockdown, feeling like their freedom is being restricted. And yet I think that we have to take seriously everything that's happening right now, because the more, the karmic lessons that are coming up for all of us in our own lives, whatever area, it doesn't mean we don't have our own issues still. This, everything that's going on is obviously dominating our lives and the people around us, and these are really grave times. This is an unprecedented time, but yet we still have our own personal dreams and pain and things that we are also dealing with, and that's not to be undermined either. And whatever has come up for you this year with this Capricorn, the more you commit yourself, again, what's your value system? Are you working in alignment with that in your work, in your personal development, in your relationships? Are there areas that you're neglecting or that you're resisting? Well, I think with all this Capricorn, because Saturn will re-enter Capricorn on July 2nd, and it will remain there until December 17th, is really assessing what you want to construct for the future. This, if anything, a time like this makes you appreciate what the little things are, and also how precious time is, because Saturn does rule time as well. And certainly there are many that are going to have grave difficulties also with adjusting to this, whether it's financial restrictions or health restrictions. And with Saturn and Aquarius giving us, again, a glimpse of how we can really learn through, I think, a lot of inventions and I think also progress in science, but also in medicine. But what we learn and what we really, what we strive to find meaning, I think, also with that too. And Jupiter will also be joining Aquarius, and Saturn in Aquarius, and starting a great cycle, which happens every 20 years, and that will be in an air sign. The last few rounds have been in Taurus. Sorry, in Earth sign. The last time it was in Taurus, but this will occur on the winter solstice on December 21st, and that's a big deal. And so I think that right now we have to think that there is a lot of restriction. There's a lot of anger about feeling that way, and yet there's so much innovation accessible to us. But we really, I think, communication is our best commodity, and connection. And I think that this new moon in Taurus is going to occur on the 22nd. It's going to be at 10:26 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, and I cast the chart, and it's interesting because the new moon itself falls in the fifth house of creativity and self-expression, and Taurus is ruled by the planet Venus, so it's a very creative sign in and of itself. And so, but in the Leo sign, Leo house in astrology, so very much through self-expression. And it's going to be conjunct Uranus, which rules the sign of Aquarius, where Saturn currently is, and the new moon squares Saturn. There are the limitations, and yet the limitations force us to be innovative and find creative solutions to our problems. And I think that the lineup in Capricorn, and Saturn and Mars and Aquarius as well. So Jupiter and Pluto still in Capricorn in the second house of value, and that's the Taurus house in astrology, how we earn money. That's where we're restructuring, and that's where we're also transforming. And Mars in Aquarius and Saturn in Aquarius, how we're also, yes, structuring our goals, and how we're taking action. And Mars in Aquarius forms a beautiful trine to Venus and Gemini. And Venus is currently in its out of bounds. So it's acting very unpredictable and not playing by the rules, much like the Capricorn story would want us to. But Venus is also in its shadow. It's about to retrograde on May 13th of this year, and it'll be retrograde until June 25th. So again, really using the creative energy in this new moon, although there are great restrictions. The sun squares Saturn. That's going to be a difficult day on the 21st. Every time cardinal planets, planets in cardinal signs trigger the stellium that set the tone of the year, that's when we're going to be aware again or reawakened or triggered about what our restrictions are and what our lessons are. So I wish you a lot of luck. The new moon is an excellent time to set intentions and to start new beginnings. I think it's very much about creativity, and it's about finding new ways to find your value and committing to a value system that really is what's in line with what you really want, and also finding ways to innovate with Saturn in Aquarius, which is very strong in this new moon chart because the sun and the moon square Saturn in Aquarius, and then the new moon itself is conjunct Uranus, the planet of innovation and brilliance. But it's going to be a turbulent week, just as this week has been. And so we have to learn through adversity, and we have to build character and adapt through adversity. So, and that's a lesson for the Taurus energy in this, not being resistant, but being creative. So thank you very much and take care. Bye-bye. And then, and the moon is also exalted. So that's a good thing too. All right. Bye.